Shame is a prison, as cruel as a grave. Shame is a robber, he's come to take my name. Love's my redeemer, lifting me up from the ground. Love is the power where my freedom song is found. Y'all sing it with me. Shame is a prison, as cruel as a grave. Shame is a robber, he's come to take my name. Love's my redeemer, lifting me up from the ground. Love is the power where my freedom song is found. There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. When I hear that trumpet sound, gonna rise up out of the ground. There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Fear is a liar with a smooth and velvet tongue. Fear is a tyrant, he's always telling me to run. Love is resurrection, love is a trumpet sound. Love is my weapon, I'm gonna take my giants down. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. When I hear that trumpet sound, gonna rise up out of the ground. There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. There was a battle, a war between death and life. There on a tree, the Lamb of God was crucified. And he went on down to hell, and he took back every key. He rose up as a lion, and he set the captives free. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. When I hear that trumpet sound, gonna rise up out of the ground. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. No, there ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. You walked out of the grave, I'm walking too. You walked out of the grave I'm walking to. You walked out of the grave I'm walking to. Y'all sing it, come on. You walked out of the grave I'm walking to. Oh, Jesus. If you walked out of the grave I'm walking to. You walked out of the grave I'm walking to. You walked out of the grave I'm walking to. You walked out of the grave I'm walking to. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. When I hear that trumpet sound, gonna rise up out of the ground. There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. No, there ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. There ain't no grave gonna hold my body down.
Give them a shout of praise this morning. Back in 2014, 2 years before I knew that I would say yes to starting a new church, I was helping other guys start new churches in the Northeast United States, Providence, Rhode Island. On Easter of 2014, I took a team of, I think, 4 people up to this new church in Providence, Rhode Island that we'd helped start called Ocean Point Christian Church to help them with their first Easter service. They started in May. Their Easter service was like 2 weeks after their launch, and Easter's a big deal. They meet in a movie theater. So our job on that Easter service was to help them set up and tear down, and then also help them in their kids' areas of ministry, right? So they met in a movie theater. Worship services was in one movie theater. I was helping with the elementary age kids, actually leading the elementary age kids program in another movie theater that morning. And this was pretty cool because the Northeast United States is a pretty dark place spiritually. A lot of churches over the last 100 years have closed their doors. People have stopped going to church. There's a couple of generations of people, them and their kids, who have never gone to church. And so it was cool for me to be there and to share on Easter, right, the good news of Jesus Christ. And so I get to do that in front of, or with, 25 elementary age kids. And so I get to the point where I say, on Friday, Jesus died on the cross. He was executed. He dies. And on Friday evening, he's put in the grave. He's in the grave on Friday night, all day Saturday, and on Sunday morning. But on Sunday morning, Jesus comes back to life. And when I said that, this chubby little 9-year-old on the second row, right? He's probably like 3rd or 4th grade. When I said Jesus came back to life, this kid immediately says, "He did what?" Like he was absolutely shocked by that story. He had never heard that story before. And so that morning I got to share the hope of Jesus with a bunch of kids whose parents had never in their home talked about Jesus. And if there's one story that sums up why we started this church, it's that one. Like, there are people who live here and who live around us who do not know the hope of Jesus. And so we showed up here wanting to meet them, wanting to love on them, hoping that they would experience the love of Jesus through us and give us the opportunity to share the hope of Jesus with them. Like, there are people who live around us who only know the church to be judgmental, self-preserving and self-serving, and that's unfortunate. Like they went to church at one time and the church just wasn't what they heard it should be or thought it should be or even read in the Bible that it should be, and so they walked away from church, and that's unfortunate. Like for me growing up, I grew up a preacher's kid, and I remember, back in the 70s, that's how old I am, after church, my dad coming home, we always beat him home because he had to be the last one to leave and lock the doors. I remember my dad coming home, and my brother and I would be watching TV or playing or whatever, but I always overheard this conversation, my mom asking my dad, well, how did things go? And my dad, after church, talking about how things went, answering like this, well, this deacon didn't like this thing that I said this morning. Miss Joyce was upset that someone was sitting in her seat. Brother Bill said it was too hot in the auditorium. Miss Bradshaw said the service was too long. Like those are the things that my dad heard from the people he was preaching to. Like never did he talk about life change or people inspired by the message to go out and love people like Jesus. Like I heard my dad share those things. My experience growing up with the church is the church was supposed to be loving and compassionate, but really in the end, as I've grown up now and I think about that, really in the end they're just a bunch of big babies. Like that's how I feel about it now. Just a bunch of spoiled little kids. And so, like, where was Jesus in his answer? Where was Jesus in that scenario? Where was Jesus in their lives during that sermon or during that message or during that gathering? And unfortunately, a lot of people have experienced church like that. They grew up experiencing it like that. They sat in the wrong seat or heard people complain or heard people bash somebody from across the way, and there was gossip, and there were power plays and power struggles and politics, and they were like, this doesn't sound like the church I read about in the Bible. This makes no sense. Why would I endure this? It's not loving at all. So Church of the Crossroads was birthed out of a desire to help people come to know Jesus, the real Jesus, and to be the church, the real church, serving and blessing and sharing and loving one another and loving our neighbors well who do not go here. Like we want to bless our city and love our neighbors. We are for them. They are worth it to Jesus. They are worth it to us. We want them to know and experience that. Like we want to be outward focused, not selfish, self-preserving, inward focused, right? So this morning I want to show you the design of this building that we've purchased, the Main Street building. That's why you're all here, right? You haven't heard a word I've said because you're like, where are the pictures, man? Quit talking. I know that's why you're here, and I know that's what you're waiting on, and I'm pumped up. I mean, I'm super excited to show them to you, but before I do, I want to make sure that we understand, I wanted to make sure that we understand how we got here and why we are here, right? This is all about Jesus. This is not about a building. I want to make sure we understand how we got here. Look, last Sunday morning at Easter, we had 776 people here for Easter. That's crazy. A year and a half old, 776 people on Easter, standing room only. And look, 776 people did not show up here because of the building we're in. You know what I mean? Like this is a school. Nobody showed up here because of the building that we are in. And when we do move and relocate and we're in our old building, there will be some people who show up because of the building we're in. But I hope that when they show up there, they leave with something greater than just a building. They leave with Jesus. I hope that when we move into that building, we don't get comfortable and settled and go, oh, we've arrived. The hustle gets turned up. Because there are still people who need to know Jesus. So that's who we are. That's why we are here. People showed up here last week, not because of the building, but because of the person we are preaching and the person we are following, and that's Jesus Christ. And you've done a great job of being loving and showing that kind of love and being compassionate outside this building. That's why people showed up here, okay? So that's what I believe anyway, not because of the facility. So it doesn't matter where we are, it doesn't matter where we meet, it doesn't matter how difficult or easy setup or takedown is, it doesn't matter the building layout, it doesn't matter if it's a stale environment or a beautiful environment. We will not change who we are. We will not change what we're about. It's all about Jesus and blessing our city and loving our neighbors with the love and passion of Jesus, all right? So we will not let this building distract us from that. So that's the why. That's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why we're going to be talking about what we're talking about today. So let's talk, that's the why. Let's talk about, there's 3 questions I want to answer. Why, which I just did, how, or what we're going to do, and then how. So we're going to talk about what. Here's where the pictures come in. But before I show you pictures, let me introduce you to some guys. Building team, if you guys will come up here real quick, if you don't mind. For the last year, actually a few of us, January of 2018, so a year and a half ago, a handful of us walked through that building and we're beginning to kind of think through, okay, it may be 4 years, it may be 5 years, but what are we going to do next when we outgrow this facility, right? And then last April or May, I formalized a team of these guys, and for the last year, we've been meeting very regularly for the last 3 or 4 months, almost weekly, to kind of get all of this together. And I want to introduce you to these guys. This is Rocky Toll. Rocky is a small group leader. Rocky leads the team that sets it, like all that you see here on Sunday morning, the setup and tear down, Rocky Toll. And yeah, week in, week out, we set up, tear down every week. Rocky leads that charge. This is Junebug. Junebug is on the money counter team, on the finances team. He also leads a small group, and he's the cheerleader of the group, by the way. Junebug. Yeah. You do a cheerleader kick for us real quick. This is Brad. Why? Brad leads our finance team. He oversees our finances. He oversees communion prep, so the stations that you have, Brad's team sets and tears down that and makes sure we're ready for the Lord's Supper. He leads a small group. He's my financial advisor. Brad's kind of a jack of all trades, and so give Brad a round of applause if you don't mind. And then on the end, this is Greg Rechtenwald. Greg is our small groups team leader, so he recruits, trains, prepares all of our, he's a leader of leaders. He trains all of our small group leaders. He coaches them, oversees them, encourages them, and so give it up for Greg. Yeah. So I wanted you to meet these guys to know that I haven't just been out here flying solo like I want to buy a building and tell you about it. And so if it goes good, you can celebrate them. I also introduce them to you because if it goes south, you can blame them. All right, guys, go sit down. All right, I love this. So we've purchased this building and a piece of land between Old Bardstown Road and the Bardstown Road bypass. Can we look at the first picture? Which should be the Google Earth pic. Okay, can you guys see that on the TVs? Okay, so I love this, right? So right here with the red, what's that called? Whatever, dot. We've purchased this parking lot with this building. It's the old Main Street building. Just to the east of it is the Louisville Gymnastics. And the 2 acres behind it, right around 2 acres behind it. Okay, so we purchased all of that. I love this location because the name of our church is a play on the nickname of the city, right? The city's nickname is the Crossroads of Kentucky. Our name is Church of the Crossroads because we are a church for the city. We love the city, want to bless the city. What's cool about this location is here is the old original where the nickname comes from, right? This is the Crossroads of Kentucky right there, that spot. This would be maybe what we call the new Crossroads, the bypass. We sit right between those two, and I love that. I also love this location because over 22,000 cars pass by this location every day. Some of you who has sat in traffic right there? Anybody? All right, yeah. So, and this is the way I think, right? If we're going to bless our city, this is the way I think. Imagine like maybe not permanent, but let's imagine a permanent lemonade type stand right there. And so when it's hot in the summer, we stand right here, and while you're sitting in traffic, we're handing out cold Cokes or cold bottles of water. And when it's hot, while you're waiting in traffic and sitting and you're frustrated, we try to warm you up when it's cold with hot chocolate or coffee, just to bless you and ease your frustration for a minute, right? Like those are the kind of things we'll be able to do right here. So I love the location for all those reasons. I also love that you need to know this building. I'm trying to say this very, very gracious. This building is not in good shape, all right? It's rough. It's been neglected for years. The roof leaks. It's going to take a lot of just fixing the roof and sealing it up and the HVAC and all that, buttoning it up to keep it dry. It's going to take a lot just to do that. And the question is probably, why would we buy an old, neglected building? And the truth is, one, it's cheaper than buying a piece of ground and building from the ground up because of the price of land. So it's maybe like a third cheaper to purchase an existing building and to restore it. That's one reason we purchased this. The other reason is this: there is no other building in town that can house us. 23,000 square feet. There is no other building in town for sale that could house us. This is the biggest building in town. So that's but what I also love about it's going to take money to restore it. But what I love about this is this is our story in some ways. This is analogous to our story. We're going to take an old building and make it new, right? And that's analogous to our life in Christ. Like it's Christ who made us new. This passage right here, I love this because this is our story in Christ. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, done away with the old, and the new has come." And so it's kind of, this is our story. This building is going to be part of our story, right? Let's go back to that overhead picture. So in this building, think about this. This old building made new, a year from now, that's not a promise, by the way, about a year from now, in this building, lives will be changed. People will be baptized. Kids will hear about the hope of Christ for the first time. Like old lives will be made into new lives, new creations in Christ with the help of this tool in this building. I'm looking forward to that, to the first baptism in this building, old made new. So that's kind of why that building, all right? Christ is in the business of taking old things and making them new. He restores. And so we hope that story, the story of the building kind of gets reflected in the story of our lives, in the lives of people who walk through the building, okay? All right, so here's what we're going to do with this building. Let me show you a picture of the what you would call the front of the building. Anybody not recognize this building? This is the old Main Street. It's actually, if you're kind of new to town, this was the old roller rink. Beside it, the Louisville Gymnastics was the bowling alley. This is the old roller rink. So if you're looking at 44, you're looking at this view of it. Now you need to know this, and I'll show this to you in just a little bit. That's never really an entrance, but these doors right here on the right and left of that building that face 44 are going to be, in our design, exit only, right? So those won't be our entrances. So we're not calling this the front of the building once we move in. But this is facing 44. This is the old. You want to see the new? This is what we hope for. Let's look at the next picture. This is what we hope and think we can do with the front. And so we had a company come in back in March. Their name is, they work with churches. They're called Visioneering. They were birthed out of some Christian guys who worked for Disney. They were on the dream team of Disney, created Toy Story Land and all that. And they wanted to help churches tell their story through their buildings. And so, they came in March, and this is what they've worshiped with us. We met with them all day on Sunday and on Monday, and this is the beginnings of, this is what they came up with, all right? So this would be all painted brick in our either painted logo, or this would be like a steel, like a shadow box backlit, so you can see it from the road. This will be our sign from the road, and this is all either reclaimed wood or rough cut wood on the front. That's our facade. You can see where the entrances over on the side stick out. There'll be signage even on that. You want to see what this would look like at night? Let's see. How about that? Who drives that car? That's one of those cars that's for sale up there, right? Dave, you need to call them and tell them move their car. So that's the 44 view, okay? Let's go to the next picture, and this is from I don't even want to say his name, but you know the guy who has the yard beside it that's all fenced up, right? So this is from his. This is facing the entrances on. You're standing on the west side of the building, looking east. This was the old restaurant, diner. And this was all, actually, anything that has this was added on to the building, I believe. So it's got a flat roof. That's at least one part of the roof that's in a rough shape because it's flat. So this is looking on the west, at the west side of the building. That's the old side. That's the old view of it, current but old, because here's what we hope will be the new. I love that. Oh, that's awesome. That's exactly the way we all respond with, yes, that is really cool. So we're taking the entrances and building a little facade so you can cover up our HVAC units, but it's simple, but it's sort of us, right? So that entrance over there would be like, all this would be kids area. I'll show you that in just a minute. Hopefully, if it all works out, again, none of this is a promise. It all kind of depends on, we'll talk about that in just a minute, finances, but this would be a seating area. There'd be one entrance right here. This would be an overhead door. So like when we have Spring Festival or light up Mount Washington and we want to bless the city and maybe do events in our building for them. If the weather's right, we'll open up that overhead door. So that's the west side of the building. You want to see what it looks like at night? See if somebody's parked there. Oh yeah, somebody else is parked there at night. I really think I'm going to build like a fire pit right there, and that's going to be my office. That's just going to be my office. If you need me, I'll be right there. So there you go. So that's the outside, and a lot of that's just facade, making it look nice on the outside. Let me show you, before I walk you through kind of the 3D renderings of the inside, let me show you the floor plan of the inside. So here is the old, right? It's an old skating rink, and did anybody skate in here? Raise your hand if you actually skated. You're old. So, would you like is this where you had your first kiss? Anybody want a piece of the floor before we tear it up and hang it on your wall? So this is a skating rink. The bathrooms back in the back left corners where so you know where you're looking at, back in the back left corners where the dining room is. So that's the inside of it right now. Let me show you the floor plan. So so this is 44 right here, okay? This is the west side of the building. If you walk into either of these entrances, an entrance here or an entrance here, you walk into, this is what we would call lobby or town hall or gathering space. So you have an idea, this gathering space, if you include all that square footage, is about, where's Rocky? Half the size of the gym, or twice the size of the cafeteria, or Something like that, right? So it's pretty good. It's open. It's a big open floor concept. If you'll notice, there's very few hallways, and we want that. They designed that for a reason, because when a first-time guest walks in, and they walk into this, they can see everything. So we're not pointing somebody down a hall. Take a right, third door on your left. They can see kids area over here, worship center over here. So let me walk you through this real quick, and this is probably the most important thing for a lot of you. This wall right here is a secured wall. This is all kids area over here. We thought safety first for them. We want them to be safe, and we want them to have an environment that's fun and engaging. Safety first. So this will all be secured. This is the only way. I'll show you where the doors are. This is the only way in. These bathrooms down here, the only way into these bathrooms is to go in these doors and down. So they have safe, secure restrooms. They would, after you check them in, there would never be any reason for them to leave, right? Only having one entrance there also makes it good for our safety team who's watching for any threats, all right? This is, so if you bring your kid in here, this would be the elementary space. And these are 6-foot round tables, just so you can see, to get us an idea for dimension. These are 6-foot round tables with 12 tables sitting in the room. There's still room for like 96 kids, right? So this square footage is humongous. It's much bigger, twice the size of what we have now. This is where elementary will be. You would check in here, bring your elementary kid here. This room would be storage and workspace, so printer, copy, computer, and storage for all our student children's ministry. This room right here would be like for the 0 through 1s, like nursery, toddler, crawler, toddler. 2s and 3s would be here. This little room, it's not actually that little, would be the worship area for the 4s and 5s. So that's the kids area. These 2 rooms up here are what we would call flex rooms. So everything in this space except for this is going to be multi-purpose, multi-used. These are called flex rooms. This could be the youth, middle school, high school worship area or gathering area. Just so you can see the size, that's a full-size ping pong table. So it's twice the size of our office or so, around the size of our office if you've been in there. This would be another flex room. These would be overhead doors if we can do that. But this would be used for seminars, events. This could be, we'll run the service in here for the overflow room on our first Easter in there if we need it, that kind of thing. This would be for crying, if you have your baby in the service and you need to get out of here for some reason, this would be a place you go and maybe still watch the service. This is, by the way, this is a mother's nursing area for whoever needs that. These are bathrooms, by the way. So those are flex rooms. That's storage. These little rooms right here, this would be like a kitchenette for communion prep, coffee, donut ministry. We're still going to have coffee and donuts. And then these 2 will be like big offices / counting room, safety room, prayer room. So like Dave and Courtney and Roy, we won't have offices during the week. We'll just use this flex space. But if we need time for study or time for counseling, we would reserve one of these offices. And this is the worship auditorium that holds. We can get 600 in here. I think the way it's laid out, it's seating 560. Okay. Okay. So that's the floor plan. Now let me show you this. If you don't go there yet, Mike, if you were to go in this door, like kids' entrance door, walk into the lobby and look this way to the right. Look toward the worship auditorium. Oh, one more thing. This floor, we're trying to reclaim the skating rink floor to kind of keep the story of the building, right? Sand it down, restain it, and this will be where you see brown. This will be, hopefully, if it's restorable, the skating rink floor, old made new, reclaimed and reused for greater purpose. So that'll be part of the story of the building, which will be awesome. So if you want a piece of the floor, you can't have it because we're still going to use it. I don't care if you had your first kiss in there or your first couple's skate. So if you go in this door, look to the right, here's what you'll see. Next picture. Now that's not fully to scale, but you would come in either the side door or this overhead door, and that's definitely not to scale, but this would be our This would be our lobby, our town hall, looking at the entrances to the worship center. If you were to come in the other door and look to the left, like towards the children's wing, this is what you would see. Yeah, so if you normally come here, you could check in without having to talk to anybody at these kiosks, or if you're a first-time guest, there's a pregnant mom checking in right now, if you look closely. This would be our children's check-in station. These doors, the glass doors to the right and to the left, slide in. So there would be two entrances. Once the service starts, they close and can be locked. So there's one way in. Your kids are safe, and we think they'll have an awesome time back there. If you were to, after you check your kid in, walk across the lobby, get your cup of coffee and your donut, and walk back this way into the worship auditorium, when you walk in, this is what you would see. So you can see it's simple. It's very simple. We don't have a waterfall coming down into our baptism that's all glass, and we're going to take our cattle trough with us, honestly, because that's who we are. It's simple. We're just going to keep, oh, is that? Yeah. I still think we got to baptize in Floyd's Fork, but if we need a trough, we'll keep it the trough. But you can just, these are sound panels that will also have some real wood, reclaimed wood in there that'll just help create some dimension and texture. I think the floor in here is going to be like polished concrete, so simple, easy to clean up. Chairs, the things that we've purchased in here, chairs, sound system, we thought ahead from day one. If we ever have a building, we would just take what we've got and it works there. So these are our chairs. They won't be flip up padded with cup holders, and this is who we are. So there you go. I wish we had more people in there. One day we will. I hope. Is that it, Mike? I think that's the last picture. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. Here's why we're doing it, because of Jesus. Here's what we're going to do. The guys are passing out these. Everybody grab one of these nice glossy flyers. We think this will, once we start on it, we think this will take, this is not a promise, around a year. We hope less, could be more, just we're throwing out maybe around a year. Some people think around 9 months, right? We'd love to be in before Easter of next year. Just we can't make any promises at this point. So take 9 months before we actually move in, and there will be work days and demolition days that you'll be able to be a part of along the way if you want to serve in that way. Some groups have already done that. We have one group that's cutting the grass. We have a crew of people that were in there yesterday cleaning out some of the final things that were left in there. So there'll be other work days and demo days to come. All right. So the final question is why, what, how? How are we going to do this? You knew I was going here, right? You're getting a gloss. Does everybody got a card? Does anybody need one? Raise it up high if you need one, okay? So on that card are just kind of some of the details that we walked through, and then a couple of others, right? Some of the biggies, all right? Approximately 23,000 square feet. If you move on down, you are going to see this loan amount. 1.5 million. Now let's talk about that for a minute, okay? From the beginning of our time as a church, we have budgeted in a way where we don't spend everything. Like we run everything on a shoestring budget. It helps that we don't have much overhead. We have budgeted in a way where we don't spend everything. Like we don't budget to spend everything because we knew this day would be coming. And we'll do our best every year not to budget or spend everything because we know special projects will pop up. So to this point, we've had low to no overhead, and we've been saving big time from day one. Because of that, as a church, And with the offerings that you've given and the parts that we've saved, we are able to put $300,000 cash toward this building project. And yeah. And at the same time, that doesn't deplete our savings, because we operate, as a church, we operate on the Dave Ramsey plan, right? We will still have 3 to 6 months worth of operating costs and savings it's our safety net. If something goes south, we can still operate as a church because we've saved in order to be in order for emergency, right? So we are going to put $300,000 down, but we'll still have 3 to 6 months operating costs and savings as a safety net. All right. So for the 1.5, let me tell you about this. We didn't just pick 1.5 million out of the air. We waited. I said we've been meeting for a year. As a team, we figured out what's the mortgage payment that we could make? What's an affordable mortgage payment? And we came up with a number, and we waited until, as a church, we were receiving that number. So here's what I'm all over the place right now. Dave Ramsey says you should only borrow. Your mortgage payment should only be a quarter of your income. Right? So like 1 week out of a month's paycheck should be what you borrow. That should be your mortgage payment. That's where the 1.5 comes in. We waited until we were at about $10,000 a week in offerings before we decided, okay, now we can make that payment. Now let's move forward. Now that was back in October or November, where we were like, we can afford this payment. Offerings have been incredible and well beyond that now, so that payment is going to be pretty easy, pretty simple for us. And the reason we did that is because we don't want our house payment, our mortgage payment, to handcuff our ministry. Like we don't want to be distracted by a mortgage payment. That just doesn't make sense. So we played it wise, we played it smart. And we made it. We think the payment is in such a way that we're going to continue to press on. We're still going to be able. We're still now looking for a youth minister. We're still going to be able to press forward in ministry and making sure that we're doing all we can to connect with people outside of this building. We're not going to slow down. This mortgage payment isn't going to keep us from doing those kind of things. Okay, so we've tried to play it smart. We've tried to play it wise. And then at the same time, you need to know this. It may be that, so we're only borrowing the reason I tell you all that, we're only borrowing 1.5. And then we're, from our savings, putting 300 into the project. So 1.8 project is what we have so far. We also know that with this building, we won't know until we get into it what other repairs might need to be. We won't know fully until we get all of the bids what the whole project is going to cost. And anything above that 1.8, we want to cash flow. We're going to cash flow the rest of it. We're not borrowing anymore. And so we want you to know that. We'll just have to see in the end how our construction bid comes in and how much it's fully going to cost. We also know that some of you have been asking and waiting to give in a special offering toward this. You've been asking us that, and we've been kind of like, hang on, wait. Some of you have gotten frustrated with me because I've said, hang on, wait. But you've been asking, and I love that, because Val and I, we want to give to this. And we have our money set aside. Can't wait to give. And some of you do as well. You've told and keep asking. And I love that you've been asking. And you're ready to invest in the next season of our ministry with our own building. And so, I think our setup teardown team is too. They're exhausted, I know. But I love that you've been asking, because I've always thought this, especially as I've become serious about my relationship with Jesus Christ and his work in this world. I've always thought this: besides your marriage, and besides your kid and raising your kids, the most significant thing you can do with your life is invest in the local church. Like, this church will outlive you, it will outlast you, and it will out-impact you. Like, this church will continue to be a light in this world even after you're gone from this world. There's coming a day when I'm going to be too old to preach, I think. And there's going to come a day when I no longer exist, I'm going to die one day. After I die, this church will continue reaching the next generation, even after I die. And so I want to invest in restoring something old and make it new again, and make it a place where people find hope in Christ, and they're restored themselves and made new again. All right? So now that we've talked about why and what we're going to do, and we've talked about how we're going to do it, let me add to how we're going to do it, or how we could do it. In 2 weeks, we're going to take up a one-time special offering for this project. That's Mother's Day, and I know. On that day, if you would like to, and this is not a mandatory thing, if you don't want to give, that's totally okay. We're not judging anybody. We're not measuring anybody. It's not about that. This is just for those who want to and are willing to and who've been waiting to do this, okay? So on Mother's Day, if you want to contribute and give to this project, we're going to do that all at once on Sunday morning, May 12th, at the beginning of the service. So Mother's Day, first thing we'll do is take up a special offering. It'll be the building project offering. They'll take that money, they'll go count it. At the end of that service, then we will report to you how much we've raised and celebrate that, okay? So this offering, because we're cash flowing it, you need to know, will go, every penny of it will go to the building project. It will go all to the building project and the build out. The building team was kind of wrestling with, how much, as we're trying to plan, we've got 1.8 million to work with. If we take up the special offering, if you were to guess, how much could we raise? Some guys said 200. I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. Is it 100? I don't know. But so I don't know. Maybe the starting point is 100,000. All right, it's an auction now. Right? Here's kind of my take on it. All I know is we planned, seating-wise, for last Sunday to have 600 people on Easter, and we had 776. So I don't want to limit God, and I don't want to limit your generosity. We're just going to see what God's going to do. And let me encourage you in this way. The gifts that you might give to this building should be above and beyond the tithe. So if you commit to weekly giving from your paycheck, that's still the tithe. This is above and beyond gift towards something specific. Today, you can get a head start. Brad is going to open it up online. Make sure so for the next 2 weeks, you could give from our website or from our app on the online giving. When you click on it, the default mode is general fund. If this is a building project offering, make sure there's a drop down tab. Don't give it to the general fund, give it to the building project. So for the next 2 weeks, you can give online in that way, starting today. On your way out the door, if you're going to give cash or a check, there'll be building fund offerings on the table out here to the right. You can grab those now and get ready for 2 weeks from now. Whatever you want to do. God has done great things, and God has brought us here to this point, and we believe God has led us to this building. It is the only building. It really is. And so we're looking forward to where he's going to take us next and what he's going to do through us in the next year and beyond. Because what's been done so far has been freaking amazing. Freaking amazing. Let's pray. God, thank you for loving us and allowing us to be a part of your work in this kingdom. And I'm just being honest, I have never experienced your work and your miracles so obvious as I have in the last 2 years. And so I have no doubt however it may play out, if we get exactly what was designed on these pictures or some shaken down version of it, God, it's all going to be worth it, and you're going to use it, and you're going to use us in it to help lives be made new, to help people find the hope of Jesus, to help us show them that they are worth it to you and worth it to us. So we pray for your direction and your guidance, and use us in the meantime to give to it or pray for it or just do our part in loving others outside of this building. Pray. Amen.
I'm the one who held the nail. It was cold between my fingertips. I've hidden in the garden. I've denied you with my very lips. God, I fall down to my knees with a hammer in my head. You look at me, arms open, forgiven, forgiven. Child, there is freedom from all of it. Say goodbye to every sin. I am forgiven. I've done things I wish I hadn't done. I've seen things I wish I hadn't seen. Just the thought of your amazing grace, and I cry, Jesus, forgive me. God, I fall down to my knees with a hammer in my head. You look at me, arms open, forgiven, forgiven. Child, there is freedom from all of it. Say goodbye to every sin. You are forgiven. I could have been 6 feet under. I could have been lost forever. Yeah, I should be in that fire, but now there's fire inside of me. Here I am, a dead man walking, no grave gonna hold God's people. All the weight of all our evil, lifted away, forever free. Who could believe? Who could believe? Forgiven, forgiven. You love me even when I don't deserve it. Forgiven, I'm forgiven. Jesus, your blood makes me innocent, and I will say goodbye to every sin. I am forgiven. I am forgiven. You know, as we think about being forgiven and what that means for us, sorry, I get a little choked up. I love that song. I get lost in the idea that it was my sin that put Jesus on that cross. And that's a really hard thought coming right out of Easter where we get to celebrate that resurrection. But I think it's important for us to remember as we think about the gospel and what that means in this city and this opportunity that we have with this building to never forget what our sin means, what we've been through, and the beauty of that resurrection we have in Jesus, the one true Christ. So with that in mind, we're going to take a minute and celebrate communion together. We're going to celebrate that Last Supper that Jesus had on earth with his disciples, where he shared that his body was going to be broken, his blood was going to be poured out, and that was all for us so that we could put that sin down, even though we were the people who drove those nails through his arms with our sin. If you would take just a second, prepare your hearts, and as you're ready, you can come up to the stations that are in the front and the back of the room. You just take the bread, dip it in the juice, and as your own time, prepare your heart however you need to. If you need to sit and pray for a minute or come on up as you're ready, we'll continue on in worship as you wrap up.
and dream. Come to the table, all who are hungry. Come and feed.
Created from dust, you came and you lived among us. You took on our frame, you walked in our pain. Now you're taking us higher. You stepped into time, you laid down your life to save us. You took all our shame, on the cross it was laid. Now you're taking us higher. We go from glory to glory to glory. We'll never be the same, we'll never be the same. We go from glory to glory to glory. We're forever changed, we're forever changed. You call me your friend, brought into your endless kingdom. By the blood I was made, no longer a slave. Now you're taking us higher. We go from glory to glory to glory. We'll never be the same, we'll never be the same. We go from glory to glory to glory. We're forever changed, we're forever changed, yeah. Until we reach that day, love conquers everything. We'll cry an anthem singing, holy, holy. And when we see that day, we're standing face to face. We'll shout an anthem singing, holy, holy. Until we reach that day, love conquers everything. We'll cry an anthem singing, holy, holy. And when we see that day, we're standing face to face. We'll shout an anthem singing, holy, holy, yeah. You took on the grave, so not even death can shake us. The victor has won, heaven has come. Now you're taking us higher.